Detective Frank was known for being the best detective in the city. But unlike other detectives, Frank only took cases that were closer to home, quite literally. He only solved crimes that happened around the house, such as who ate the last slice of pizza, who forgot to turn off the lights, or who left the toilet seat up. Despite the mundane nature of his cases, Frank took his job very seriously. He had a keen eye for detail and was determined to uncover the truth, no matter how small the crime may seem. But there was one person who seemed to always be the culprit in his cases, his wife, Claire. It seemed that no matter what the crime was, Claire was always somehow involved. She was the one who left the dishes in the sink, she was the one who forgot to buy milk, and she was the one who always left her shoes in the hallway. At first, Frank found it amusing that his wife was always the culprit. But as time went on, he began to suspect that something more sinister was at play. Was Claire deliberately sabotaging the household? Or was there something deeper going on? Frank began to investigate his wife's every move, taking note of her behavior and habits. He installed security cameras around the house and even hired a private investigator to follow her when she left the house. Finally, after weeks of investigation, Frank uncovered the truth. Claire had been struggling with anxiety and depression, and her forgetfulness and careless behavior around the house were simply symptoms of her mental health issues. Frank was heartbroken that he had not realized this earlier, but he was also relieved to finally have an answer. He hugged his wife tightly and promised to support her in any way he could. Together, they sought help and began to work through Claire's issues, strengthening their relationship in the process. From that day on, Frank continued to solve crimes around the house, but he no longer suspected his wife. He knew that they were a team and that they could overcome anything together. As Frank continued to work as a detective around the house, he became increasingly obsessed with solving every little crime that occurred. He would spend hours poring over security camera footage and analyzing every detail of Claire's behavior, convinced that there was always something to uncover. Claire, however, grew tired of his constant detective work. She felt that Frank was spying on her and invading her privacy, and she began to resent him for it. She tried to talk to him about her feelings, but Frank was so caught up in his work that he didn't listen. Eventually, Claire reached her breaking point. She packed her bags and left, unable to deal with Frank's constant surveillance and suspicion any longer. Frank was devastated. He had always thought that he and Claire were a team, but now he realized that his detective work had cost him his marriage. He was filled with regret for not listening to his wife's concerns and for not realizing the toll that his work was taking on their relationship. Frank tried to win Claire back, but she was too hurt to forgive him. She moved on with her life, and Frank was left alone with nothing but his detective work. In the end, Frank realized that his obsession with solving crimes around the house had come at a great cost. He had lost the person he loved most in the world, all because he couldn't let go of his detective work. He vowed to never let his work come between him and the people he cared about again, but the damage had already been done. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider liking the video and subscribe to be notified of freshly baked, frightfully generic stories.